We're here today in the shadow in light of what has happened in Manhattan with the attack on the police officer by the illegal immigrants who are in the city or who were in the city. And in light of that horrendous event, where we saw the pro-criminal, the idea of cashless bail, the catch and release, that no one should be in jail, desk appearance tickets, the sanctuary city policy that is in New York, where we do not cooperate or work with federal immigration officials to deport people who should be deported. And don't take my word for it. Governor Hochul said those exact words. They should be deported. But instead, they were released. Instead, several of them are on their way to California. Why? This is the plan. This is how these policies work. Sanctuary cities policies, pro-criminal policies, open borders policies. Alvin Bragg is really a disgrace as a district attorney. He's running a public defender's office out of the Manhattan DA's office. He was not elected as the Manhattan public defender. He was elected as the district attorney, and he is failing to execute the most basic functions of that job, which is to protect the people of Manhattan. If Governor Hochul is serious, she believes they should have been deported, then she should fire Alvin Bragg. She should remove him from office because he simply is not performing the duties that we expect a district attorney to do. He is not performing the duties he was elected by the people of Manhattan to do. In my view, he's almost a danger to the borough of Manhattan. And if the governor is serious, she will do that. She could do a host of other things. Like she can end the sanctuary state policies that were put in place by Governor Cuomo with the stroke of her pen. And we're calling on her to do that as well. But she should remove Alvin Bragg. This moment in time is everything that's wrong with this state and the policies that are supported by the Democratic Party and that have been voted on in some cases by our colleagues across the aisle in the Senate and supported by Governor Hochul. So if she's serious, we don't want her words. I don't care what she says in press conferences. Do something about it. She can do something about it. She should do something about it. And that starts with removing Alvin Bragg from his position as Manhattan DA. And to speak more on this and the letter that he, along with our conference, sent to the governor asking her to do this is my colleague, Senator Dean Murray.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you. So we've sent the letter. The letter has been sent to the governor that myself and Senator White put together. We are past the time for action. It is time that she remove Alvin Bragg from office. From the moment he took office, he was picking and choosing which laws he would enforce, which criminals he would go after, and which ones he wouldn't. He was picking and choosing. A memo went out just days after he took office to his staff saying these are a list of crimes we're not going to go after anymore. Meanwhile, last week, fast forward to last week, after many abysmal failures on his part, we reached the pinnacle when two NYPD officers are attacked and beaten by a mob, a gang of migrants outside of a shelter in Times Square. The police do their job. They arrest them. Alvin Bragg doesn't do his job. 6 of them released without bail. Now, keep in mind, these are illegal immigrants who have no base here. We know nothing about their past, their criminal history, nothing about this. They are not residents or citizens, no base here. Compare that against the bodega owner, Jose Alba, who was attacked. He was simply defending himself, and this DA wanted to charge him with second-degree murder, held him at Rikers in lieu of $500,000 bail. Do you see the stark contrast? This DA's actions, or should I say inactions, are putting New Yorkers in danger. It is that simple. So it is past time. The governor needs to take action, exercise her constitutional rights under Section 34 of the Public Officers Law, and remove Alvin Bragg from office immediately. With that, I'd like to call up my colleague, Senator White.
Thank you, Senator Murray. And it's my pleasure to be here today to support our law enforcement. We know that public safety is the top issue on the minds of New Yorkers, no matter where you are. Alvin Bragg is doing a disservice to everyone who is in Manhattan, whether you're coming there as a visitor or whether you live there. His approach to crime is disgusting. He allows individuals who are here illegally to be released back onto the street, where they commit numerous crimes. In fact, we watch the news and we see it every single day. Another event every single day where these illegal migrants are committing crimes and getting away with it, and they know it. They not only know it, but they stick their middle finger up to the press because they know it doesn't matter what they do, they will be back on the street, and they have all the rights and all the protection that the DA is going to provide for them. It's time for him to go. It's time to take back safety and support our law enforcement.
Thank you, Senator White. Like Senator White mentioned, 4 of those who were released with no bail, 4 of those who were arrested for attacking NYPD officers were found, I believe, in Arizona. Is that a surprise to anyone here that they immediately fled? It certainly isn't for me. But what message is that sending? The DA is sending the message to everyone: come to New York, do whatever you want, and you can get away with it. With that, I'd like to call Senator Palumbo up to explain something that he actually explained to us about his picking and choosing of who we will go after. Senator Palumbo?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. So I actually worked in the Manhattan DA's office for a little over a year under Robert Morgenthau, who was a prosecutor's prosecutor, had a constitutional duty and an obligation to prosecute offenders in equal fashion. Justice is supposed to be blind. Unfortunately, with Alvin Bragg, justice is not blind because he selectively chooses whom to prosecute and who he doesn't prosecute. Great example, speaking to an attorney who had a nurse as a defendant, and she had purchased a forged vaccination card. And there were about 70 or 80 individuals who did so through the subpoena where they ultimately garnered the information. And Alvin Bragg chose not to prosecute all of them, just about 24 of them who were in the medical field. So instead of prosecuting everyone for the same crime that was obviously committed, he chose not to. And then he pursued those claims as if they were murder at the Met. Wanted them to lose their licenses, to plead guilty to crimes, wouldn't budge. Some of them were students, some of them never even passed it. They were remorseful. This particular client was remorseful that she had purchased a forged vaccination card and got vaccinated. Never passed it, never did anything with it. They said, too bad, she can take a misdemeanor, she can never become a nurse, shame on her. And that is just a prime example of the distortion of the law and the abysmal job, and quite frankly, the dangerous job that Alvin Bragg is doing. You can't pick and choose. You have a job to do even-handedly, regardless of who the defendant is, regardless of the situation. So now, he's more focused on prosecuting a so-called victimless crime than he is about not only victim-sensitive crimes and violent crime, but about protecting police officers as well. So this is just an example of truly a breach of that constitutional duty. And quite frankly, that's the reason why he should be removed. Not for politics, not because he made 1 or 2 bad mistakes, because of a consistent policy to improperly and unevenly administer the law. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Finally, I'd like to call up our colleague, Senator Rob Rollison, for a few words. Rob?
Thank you, Senator. And so as a retired police officer of 26 years and the father of a police officer in Westchester County, the message that was sent by Alvin Bragg is that your job really doesn't mean as much as it once did. We ask our police officers to be that person between bad and good. And there was a time, not that long ago, where if you assaulted a police officer, which is a felony, you could be held on bail. And in this particular case, and we saw what happened and we saw who did it allegedly, these individuals should have been held on bail at the very least till we found out who they were, where they came from, and what their risk assessment is. And what message does that send to the men and women of the NYPD, especially in the county of Manhattan where apparently you can be assaulted and you're not going to be held accountable and taken off the street until you are determined whether you are a risk to do it again. And getting back to my time on the job, but especially being a father of a cop, I want that kind of accountability for individuals who assault police officers, period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. So in summary, to wrap it up, we have sent the letter to the governor. We are hoping she will take swift action because this needs to be done. This needs to be done for the safety of all New York. With that, we'll take any questions. Senator White,
Elise, question.
The governor and some of your Democratic colleagues have continuously said that one of the way to tackle the migrant issue is immigration reform in D.C., calling on their Republican colleagues to chat with your Republican colleagues in D.C. about immigration reform. Is this something that you consider?
well, I think it's odd that they're saying that when it's the Democrat City Council who declared New York City a sanctuary city, they could change that immediately. That would help. The governor, with a stroke of a pen, could reverse Governor Cuomo's sanctuary city designation from 2017. That would help. So the opportunity to take action has been there. They're just conveniently using what's happening in Washington, D.C. But there are actions that can be taken right here, right now, that they refuse to. And by the way, I would add $53 million in debit cards being handed out to illegal immigrants certainly is not helping the cause.
Next question.
Senator, do you believe that the state should shell out another $400 million for the migrant crisis as Mayor Adams just asked for?
Absolutely not.